We're good.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Tasty Steve. We have a very special guest, Mr. Super Effects.
What's up?
And we have...
Mr. James Chen. How's everybody going?
Hey.
Killing that grammar.
Just started.
No, I do it every week.
Just went downhill immediately.
Yeah, Ultra David has lost a little weight.
I'm substitute white guy. Traded 2 for 1 this week.
I think we got an upgrade here, actually.
I mean, I'll take the compliment.
I think we kind of got a deal here, so yeah. So for people who don't know, this is, of course, Paul, a.k.a. Super Effects. He is part of the SDR cast crew.
Yep.
They do a stream every Monday and also talk about lots of fighting game stuff, albeit with probably more 4-letter words than we
A few more. I knew you guys tried to keep it clean. We don't have such compunctions normally.
Yeah,
But we're every Monday, 6:30 to 8 on Team Spooky. So
right.
people want to check us out.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, Ultra David and Pasty Steve are already in Chicago.
That's right.
So we don't leave. I don't leave until Thursday. You leave.
I leave Thursday at 1. I leave Friday at 1:30 a.m. Red eye my way to Combo Breaker. And,
The hard life.
Because I
gotta work.
Because I gotta work.
Can't get that PTO.
Dude.
So,
Sadness.
Yes. Exactly.
So basically, we had to make sure we filled in. That's why we got the homeboy here to help us out. And in all honesty, I feel like there's no one better to have as a guest, especially discussing what's on the board today. So
Really?
Maybe.
Did you say that? I mean, I could think of like at least 4 or 5 people.
I mean, they probably have more expertise, but I probably have more opinions.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff today, and we're going to begin with a hot topic. I know you guys talked a lot about this on SDR Cast yesterday. Yep. So, but I kind of want to get into the CPT rules. The Capcom Pro Tour rules were just updated recently with some interesting, questionable, some not so questionable, but there were some interesting updates going on in the CPT rules.
So let me just say, as the resident black guy,
we're going here right away.
I'm going right in. I'm telling you now.
Start there.
As the resident black guy,
Uh-huh.
I typically don't follow many rules. However, I really like video games, and I plan on being at these events.
Yeah.
So if I'm reading down the list, and you say, no pornographic content or anything that leads to it, no gambling, and I'm just like, man, this is not cool, but it is what it is. If we want to elevate ourselves in the ranking of official business, these are the things that I have to give up. But however, there was a word that kind of
Stuck out to you?
Struck a chord.
Struck a chord?
And it was thuggery.
That's right.
And I was just like, I haven't even done anything. I didn't even do anything. Y'all telling me no thuggery.
I mean, obviously, they were probably trying to refer to thuggery without any sort of connotations. Now, unfortunately, the English language takes on a lot of different, it changes a lot. And words begin to become associated with certain things.
This is true.
And yes, the word thuggery, it was basically like, don't try to start any fights, don't do any of these things.
Well, that's what I like to do at events, baby. That's why I'm
there. Other forms of thuggery. I mean, I really wish, we had Mr. Lawyer Ultra David here, because I want to know about
I do too. I really wish we did.
But I mean, what was your thoughts on that?
Words don't exist in a vacuum.
Right. Okay.
So you can't say something like thuggery, which I'm pretty sure isn't actually a real word anyway. And because when you start throwing around things like that, everybody who knows anything about how words like contextually get used, they're gonna jump on that and be like, really? Really? So what you just wanted to say is keep it really white, guys. Like, yeah, like golf claps.
that was nice. Did you see how he baited the DP? That was golf. They're starting back. Let's go. Lame.
It's the golf commentary?
Yeah, man. That was...
He's approaching in the corner right now. He's about to throw out the frame trap. And there it was, the frame trap. Oh.
And there's the shimmy. What a nice... that shimmy was beautiful.
Listen to the applause of the crowd.
It's
Like,
it's like somebody's dropping toothpicks. What a roaring applause. You know, anyways. Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. Like, don't get me wrong. I am exaggerating my expression on it. I really am. But on the same note, I can honestly say that I saw that word and I was just like, do you guys not watch the news or like?
See, I mean, like someone in the chat even mentions this. Like before the word. Oh yeah, I've got all the wrong. Here, I'm gonna kill this lower third because like, all the names are wrong. All the names are wrong.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It's okay. Just roll
but
with
I mean,
it.
like thug used to be like even like mafia gang. Like it's the thugs, it's the scoons. You know what I mean? But like ever since the political climate of the last couple of years, it's kind of really changed. And in fact, a lot of people have even been like when the news organizations report stuff. There's a riot with white people. It's unrest. It's civil unrest. But, you know, when it comes to black folks causing any sort of panic, then it's the thugs, right?
When white people are overturning cars because of a pumpkin fair
Oh, pumpkin fair. Are
in
you
New
serious?
Hampshire,
Yeah,
that is white people just getting a little too wild. And that's how that's covered. But that definitely would have been thuggery if it was anybody else.
Yeah, exactly. And so the word now has that association, the connotation.
Right.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. And it definitely has for a long time.
Right. And so it's just one of those things that if you're writing that, should probably
You gotta be
choose
a
your
lot
words a
more
little
conscious,
more carefully.
man.
Like, I don't...
And yeah, and that's sort of a thing you wonder who edited this, if anybody did, because there's a couple other things that are really odd in terms of the way pronouns are used.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of like he and him, and then it's they and them later.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a shift.
Okay, right.
And it looks like somebody, I don't know if it goes back and forth because I only noticed it once or twice. Monique was telling me about it. And I don't know if it goes back and forth the whole thing or if it shifts at some point and then stays.
Right. I
So-
mean, look, the thing I'm gonna say this is that I honestly don't think that Capcom meant any harm by this.
I don't think they
No,
did
I don't
either.
think they did either.
And in fact, it probably literally is just like some guy like, dude, I need to write these rules. Let's go.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? So these things are gonna happen.
That's true. That's true. I feel like they definitely should have had somebody overlook these rules. Even more so, I understand the need for them, especially now, especially with how things are going with all these. We want to make sure everything is legit and everything looks really good on camera, as well as that the rules are obeyed. But on the same note, you have to remember who you're talking to. at all
One
times.
of your main commentators is a lawyer.
Well, and
One of the
I mean,
main commentators.
this is why you hire editors.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it might be what I do for a living.
Exactly.
So that's the importance of it, is that basically the last thing you want to do is communicate ideas that are not your intent, especially when you're a big
Right.
company like that. When one person speaks out of turn, it's on them. But when your writer and you're a huge company says something that can be misconstrued in the general public, you're going to get what's already happened. A lot of people being like, really, guys?
Well, look like this. I'm looking in the chat and I see someone saying that I'm twisting it. I'm not put like this. Like I said, my reaction, I'm overreacting that. By every way you want to take it, I'm saying that to the outside looking in, you're going to see something like that, and you can't gauge how someone else is going to take it. You don't know
Right.
the contextual
Yes.
obligations
Yeah.
that that person has, and that's what all I'm trying to say. I know what they mean, but on the same note, everybody reading that is not going to be me or this man or this man. We don't know who's going to read that, and you don't know how it's going to be taken. So I feel like that's one of the things you want to be more aware of before.
Yeah,
you
I think in terms of situations like that, what you have to do is take it like, if you're a complete stranger and you heard somebody say this and it's about you, how are you going to take it? Now, some people just let that stuff roll off no matter what.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
And some people just don't. And I think you have to
You
tailor
have
it
to
for
account.
both.
Yeah, you have to account for that because you're accountable.
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to be held in public opinion. So
And like I said, and although that is one of the things that was there, also the fact that the no pornographic representation.
Right. So there was a couple of other
There's
things.
a couple
that,
other
that
things.
stood
That's,
out,
that's
right?
not the only thing we're talking
Right.
about.
Let's get into this other one right here. So obviously we have two very prominent FGC members, Filipino Man and Val Master, who are sponsored by Team YP.
Yeah.
Of course, Team YP stands for YouPorn. And so they've created an esports team that they've tried their best to just disassociate with the origin, right? So
Right.
even if you go to Team YP, there's no mention of the parent company or anything, and it's just Team YP everywhere. So YP as I tweeted like 7,000 times, could stand for all sorts of different things, right?
Exactly.
Like, you know, you could have it be like a you play, you know, or something like that. Who knows?
Team Yellow Perch.
Yellow Perch?
Yeah, why
Okay,
not?
Okay. But the interesting thing about it was that in this rule set that was just updated, was just amended, said that any players who are basically sponsored, flown there and entered, you know, and all that stuff, travel accommodations, whatever, that are coming from a adult content website or parent company is not allowed to compete in the tournament. And interestingly enough, that came out right before Stunfest, where Valmaster was playing. Now, Valmaster was allowed to play.
Right.
And Capcom actually came out and clarified later on. They're like, okay, it's fine that these guys can play. They just can't have any of the logos or anything on there.
Right.
But the funny part that came out afterwards, where they said, like, no pornographic, no adult content. And then they said, like, smoking and, like, beer and, like, alcohol and stuff like that, those are okay. Like, those companies are okay.
I feel like there's a lot going on where a representation is kind of getting meshed together, and they're going to be contradicting themselves pretty soon, and who's going to be there to tell them? Like,
what's funny to me about that is, alcohol's everywhere. You can catch a beer commercial, you know, hockey, all sports, baseball.
I'm drinking alcohol right now. I'm joking. I'm not joking.
But cigarette ads
What did I
disappeared.
tell you, Steve? You're not allowed to drink alcohol before you come on the show, okay? No thuggery on the
Wow! Time to go. I gotta go.
No. Anyways, continue.
No, I was going to say cigarette ads disappeared off TV, and in most sports, you can't find cigarette ads anymore either.
Yes.
And that was the 90s?
Yeah, that was the 90s. Late 90s, yeah.
So it's really surprising to me that cigarettes and vaping are getting a pass when they don't get a pass in anything else.
Not
these
even in
days.
the public. And it's a lot going on when it comes to smoking and vaping in public right now. So the fact that they're okaying this, but Team YP isn't actually allowed to play, it once again, it just, from the outside looking in, you're like, you guys are being pretty contradicting right now.
Yeah, it just looks like a double standard.
And on top of that, I mean, now, just for the sake of the argument, now YP could take an extra step and be like, you know what, we can officially cut ties with that and just make another company and make YP the parent company and change the name and do the whole nine. But do they want to do that?
Well, I mean, here's the funny thing is, like, a lot of people are asking, like, if you've dissociated yourself with the parent company so much, what do you have a team for? Like, because you're not really promoting anything, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But here's I heard that, honestly, that they just really like esports, and they just really wanted to have a team because they just think it's cool, you know? And, of course, you know, detectives will be able to figure out where it's coming from and such. But my biggest issue with this whole thing is that, you know, look, we all know that sex sells, right? So sex is something that sells, and I can totally understand them saying, look, we don't want to be associated with the pornographic company, we don't want to be associated with adult content or anything like that. But then you have Laura.
Laura and all her beauty.
Like, how are you, like, what is her purpose in the game is that sex sells, right? I mean, that's like the whole purpose of her being in the game.
Well, it's the old tried and true. Sex sells, but not actual sex. We can't have that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't think any of us were surprised. To be completely honest, like
I know, honestly, I was a little surprised.
Really?
I was surprised only because, look, if this was 2 years ago or however long ago before they made the split, and said, hey, you know what? Just for you guys, we're gonna do this. They said, hey, we know the connotation that comes with that. We are aware. So guess what? We're going to do this. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not a complete split. It's not. However, they did that consciously to say, hey, you know what? We want to make sure to avoid any kind of yellow tape and do it this way before it even gets to that point. So if their love for esports is true, them changing their name and doing that, disassociating themselves with the parent means that they did that for the FGC. Not for their own kind of push. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I hear you saying.
I feel like it wasn't something done without what's happening right now in mind. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, for me, I just don't like that double standard mostly. It's just, you know, you have this character who's like just like bleeding out of her clothes, you know, and everything, and it just seems kind of weird to me. But I mean, there's also the thought process too that the esports division is run mostly by Capcom USA, and the game was made in Japan. Right? There's very different kind of standards. In terms
definitely.
Of sexual content.
Right.
You know, so that could be a little bit where the divide comes from. But then also, it's just the game, the East. Like I said, I get why it's happening. The mixed message part of it just kind of bothers me. I guess.
It does feel a bit like Capcom is just covering their own backside, basically because these CPT events are going to be happening all over the world, and the last thing they want to do is have a high-profile event that gets into some hot water because something is deemed completely, irresponsible or offensive by a country.
Yeah.
Right.
And you don't want to, as a big multinational corporation like Capcom is, the last thing you want to do is actually run afoul of a government.
Right.
That's 100% true. So it's not like we're saying that, hey, you guys are wrong. No. It's saying that you might want to, like, don't get me wrong. Now that it's already put out there, they can go back and they can amend it and they can change it and they can do whatever they want. We're just saying this initial draft does leave a lot to, the imagination of being coherent.
Well, I mean, you even go into some of the other rules about, like, swearing and yelling, and it's like, what do you think fighting gamers have been doing for the last 10, 15, 20 years?
What do you think got us here? It wasn't...
Well, so let's go into that a little bit. So like they talked about, for example, like they don't condone betting, gambling. They specifically called out gambling. FGC is notorious for the side bets, betting on first hit, on odd or even timer run.
Wait. Wasn't there just some crazy tweet saying Mandalay Bay allowing betting on Evo?
They were maybe thinking about it.
I don't know.
I mean, look,
would that be allowed? I mean,
Evo even said too. They were like, because Team YP got banned from ESL. Right. And immediately Wizard tweeted out was like, dude, Team YP's totally welcome at Evo. Now Evo's a premier event, so now I'm starting to wonder like how this is gonna play out. But...
That seems like there was not a conversation had. It feels like nobody even talked about that one at all.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing though, right? I mean, I'm hoping that they're just going to allow what happened with Stunfest this weekend, is that like Filipino Man and Valmaster are just able to play, but maybe without their jerseys or whatever like that. I mean, I think that still sucks.
It still sucks,
ideal.
But it's better than nothing.
Right.
No, it definitely is better than nothing.
I don't want to see these guys banned because someone said, hey, I'm going to help pay for your way to play video games. And being as one of those two guys, you're just like, hell yeah, this is the best thing ever.
Because we don't need much as gamers. If we want to play in a tournament, all we need is the money to get there. So and
some pizza rolls.
Maybe some Skittles.
Skittles. Pizza rolls.
You know what I'm saying? A couple of Red Bulls. You know what I'm saying?
I want to see the Totino's logo. That's what that blank space down, that wasted space down there, in the corner in the bottom left is for logos.
But
if anyone wants
really? It's like that?
Okay. If you want some sponsors, let's get some Totino's in here.
I see you, James. I see you.
But, I mean...
So live free, couch hard? Yeah, there you go.
Couch hard. Oh, man. But, yeah, I mean... I just feel like you said, there's so much... Someone needed to edit that. Someone definitely should have... Someone should have proofread that and said, that, you might want to look at that.
Because here's the thing, is like, there's obviously different levels of disobeying the rules, right? So they say, like, no gambling.
Right.
One of the things they said was no gambling, right? I don't think they really care about, like, Nasser sitting there paying everybody out, which is still one of the greatest videos ever.
That was the greatest.
The GIF is hilarious because it's just cycling through.
Yeah, but I've always said the best part is Ultra David at the end, because he just walks up and does the lean. He does the lean. But, so obviously they probably have to put something like in there, because what if like it gets to the point where someone's betting, like, I'm betting $5,000 and then someone throws a match and then all this stuff.
Oh, yeah, no,
They
definitely.
have to have that language in there so that they can punish players like that.
Well, and what you don't want is something that's been happening is people obviously betting in front of the camera, which makes everybody look really bad, or commentators talking about it.
Oh yeah.
And that happens too. And again, that makes Capcom look really bad.
Yep.
Dude, my favorite is still like, dude, I don't even know if I should talk. He wouldn't care. Like, there have been times when we're just sitting there, like, when the camera gets off of us, David, like, points at Noel. He's like, he's like, you know.
Oh, my God.
So, there you
The
go.
strats from the commentator's booth.
Oh, man.
I've never
it
done
happens.
anything
It
like
happens.
that. I've never done anything.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Anyways,
Sure. I
But-
believe you.
these of those things, there's still a lot to be in that contract. These rules that still need to be overlooked. I just really hope they do take the time to go back, look at it. They did say it was up for review, so it's not like that's the end all be all. There still are some things left.
Yeah, I don't think what I mostly want to get across outside of the, I mean, honestly, like the thuggery thing, the gambling thing, the swearing thing. To me, that's like, it's not even a big deal because you can find that stuff in fine print of everything, which just like flies in the face of whatever. It's really, honestly, the adult content, that part that was added was the main one that concerned me just because we do have these players who are going to be very affected by that. And I hope, you know, that they're going to be okay. Like, I hope they're allowed to compete in all these events. Like, if they qualify, I hope they don't, like say, oh well, sorry, you're Team YP, out of here, you know, kind of thing.
That would be pretty awful, actually. Especially like right after they win, it's like, well, we said you could play, but we didn't say we'd let you get points.
Congratulations on 8th place, and walks off.
Yeah. Oh man.
Hit you with the full Gene Wilder. You get nothing. You lose.
Oh man. Okay. Well, I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts on the rules or anything?
No, I think that pretty much covers.
Okay. Cool. Well, we can move on to the next topic here. Before we go on break, what I really did want to talk about was, so let's just move over here. Yeah, Smash hype now. The reason why I have this listed here is because of, dude, David's gotten really good at that.
He's stupid good at it. He like eyeballs, he's like bam, bam. And I'm like,
he's gotten...
I got that almost first try, so I'm pretty impressed with myself. Because I was literally guessing, I'm like, this has to be a mirror image. I'm hoping... I actually expected my hand to end up in Steve's head.
Come on, you can refresh yourself. Come on. Oh, okay, I'll fix it later.
Right.
In any case, so this weekend was Toryukin at in Toronto.
Yep.
But it took place in the same venue as Gommel, Get On My Level, which was a big Smash event that all the like crazy great Smash players went and played in. And during top 8 of Street Fighter V was a very interesting experience. They were in the same hall. Now, while you're watching the Street Fighter stream, like, all you could hear was just the Smash players yelling and screaming.
like it was really bad. Like it wasn't. It's not bad, but how loud they were. Like you could hear it clearly over the mics of the commentators. So you know that it was super loud to like Julio and Eduardo and
Well,
those
Julio
guys.
actually called a timeout.
Yeah.
After, like, 2 games, he was like, I can't hear the game. Like, he's like, I can't, like, he had to, like, get, I don't know if he put on the headphones or whatever, but, it, like, from the stream side, it sounded like it was loud, but apparently there, it was ridiculous.
I mean, if you can hear it through the stream that
You
loud.
can hear it through the. Now, James, you know this. If you can hear the crowd watching a stream at home, that's ridiculous.
And it wasn't even the crowd that was close to the mic.
It was across the. It was
Right,
ridiculous.
it's the other crowd over there. Now, then PR Balrog sent out a tweet and was like, yo, Smash is OD, like their hype is ridiculous. Street Fighter's ass, basically, you know, because, you know, we're sitting here busy doing the golf class.
Oh.
Beautiful stuff, so. But, I mean, seriously, I actually, the reason why I bring this up is because I have a lot of theories about this. I have a lot of theories on why Smash is so hype compared to a lot of what's been going on in Street Fighter V and such, right? So it's interesting because, you know, a lot of times when I do commentary, I'm always trying to craft these stories about, like, U.S. versus Japan. And I'm like, oh, here's this rivalry, and, oh, look at this, these guys hate each other. Or, you know, I do all this stuff, and then I get people tweeting me. They're like, come on, whatever. Stop with this U.S. versus Japan crap and all this other things, you know. But look, the reason why I build those stories is because I feel like stories are super important to competition.
Yeah, that's true.
Of course.
Right, it's the backstory, right? So the fact that, like, for example, there's the 5 Japan gods, right?
Yep.
Like Daigo, and there's a lot of people like, oh, forget that. Someone just made that up. That's stupid. Don't talk about it, whatever, like that. Smash Brothers has the 5 gods.
Yep.
Right? And the fact that they have those gods makes their events super hype.
Yeah.
Because, like, the guys who are keeping all the stats, I don't remember, was it Tafo? Is it Tafo who keeps all the stats?
Is it? I'm not 100%
Tafokins?
sure.
But they always have the stats of, like, how many times the gods have beat each other. And, you know, spoilers, Leffen won the tournament, but he did it by beating 4 of the gods who were there. And so they build these storylines. They have these great storylines, and they have these players that basically, you know, are, like, I mean, not even just in terms of, like, calling them gods. Like, they really are gods.
Yeah,
They're
they've been
treated
doing
like
it
gods,
for,
you
I
know?
mean, think about it. Like, first off, like, Smash is a relatively old game now.
At this point, yeah.
But the fact is, they have so many players. They have, like, the embodiment. Like, I'm going to tell you right now. Like, last year I was up on the Evo stage, and I was doing, like, house mic for, like, Melee.
Right.
And when you're on the stage, so the people are chanting at you.
Right.
Even though they're not chanting, you know, for you. And when I tell you, like, they started doing the chant, the Smash Brothers chant, like, Pika, Pika, Pikachu. It sounded like it was the game. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I was like, oh my God. Like, this is crazy. So, the fact that I heard it, I was just like, oh no, I know exactly how loud that is. That is, like, deafening. Like, you legit have to, yo, dude, I'm gonna go get something to eat. You want something? And then you're gonna say, what? And, like, that's how it works.
Well, you know what's funny about that too is like the 5 gods of Street Fighter. It does mean something more, and it brings a certain level of importance to matches. As a commentator, you're trying to bring that importance, and if the crowd knows that because they've heard commentary talk about it, it becomes a more exciting moment. Because it's like when Haitani did so well in Street Fighter 4 last year, it wasn't just because he was so good with Makoto. It's because he's been playing these games for 20 years and beating people up with Sasquatch. And, you know, that means so much.
David loves Sasquatch.
I do too, actually.
He hates Sasquatch.
I love that character. That character is so great. And when you have that sort of connection to your audience that they not only know the player, they know their history, that does lend itself to people getting more excited about it.
Right.
Look, Marvel tried. They talked about the gods. They had 5 gods. 2 of them dropped off, and then basically there was only 3 gods. But then, you know, came Blue River coming in and basically turning into a god, and he's defeated a bunch of the players. He's defeated all 3 of the gods.
Yeah.
Like, that's the storyline that's being created for Marvel. And guess what? Marvel, despite the fact that no one plays it and everyone's like Marvel's dead or whatever like that, it still brings a lot of the hype.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Definitely.
And
I mean, you have to remember that, like, I feel like Marvel, like, is synonymous with hype. Like, I feel like it's only Melee and hype and like Marvel at this point, because Marvel, like, legitimately makes your blood boil. You lose it watching Marvel. And Smash is one of those games is where you're part of the crowd observing everything. And that's that's in the game's presentation. It's made to be a spectacle, like, yo, this is crazy. Whereas Marvel is legitimately like, look, who do you want to win? And that's what makes it what it is.
I remember, I think it was the first year Melee came back at EVO, and I think Wobbles made top 8. And
he got 2nd place.
And the crowd was just losing their minds. And, like, I'd never been around Smash crowds, honestly, that much at all. But, like, they were the loudest people that day.
Yeah.
Almost bar none. And I was just like, they know how to have fun.
Yeah.
Like,
It was literally like a court, like a parliament thing. They were like in between matches, like, oh my gosh, did you see the? And I was like, that's sick.
I was talking with, you know, several other people who were just like, man, I remember when fighting games used to be like this.
Right.
When we were like those people who were that loud and yelling and excited about our game. And it does seem like people are still excited about fighting games, but it's not as outward as it used to be.
Right.
I think it's more of the fact that this actually plays a point, like, to what's happening right now. Now, we've all been to EVO. When you get up in front, they say, hey, make sure you're sitting in
The box.
The
The
box.
box.
The
We
box.
all know
Yeah,
about the
yeah,
box. Chris
yeah.
Sly up there telling you he's going to break you if you don't stay in the box. We all know about it. Now, the thing is about it, like, as good as that box is organized, you'll get left alone that much longer. So with these rules, coupled with, that small bit of organization, I really don't see it changing other than that. Like, I feel like the hype is still going to be there regardless, but I feel like there's just organization to it. Because I can tell you right now, if you go to, a stadium to watch a game, it's no different. You got people rooting for and against. You get people to get loud. You got people that are sitting there and enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
The fact that fighting games are becoming more of an overall spectacle in all is, to me, the next. It's basically turning into a sport. It's no different to me. And like I can.
But I mean, like, does that mean then that Melee is not doing that?
Melee is doing it. So,
but see, there's
but
still
you know what
hype,
Melee?
right?
You know what Melee is? Melee is like soccer. Like it's legit. I'm serious. Or football. It's the same thing. If I've been there, like I don't even need to play this game, and I get swept up in it, and I'm just like, how do you deny this? Like you can't deny any crowd. You won't be able to deny the game. And you can't deny them both while you're in the presence of them. It's not going to happen. You can't do it. So when I see that, like, that lets me know that I feel like, even though it doesn't seem that way right now, I feel like we're on the right path. I just feel like once we hit that avenue where people can do both, it'll be easier.
I mean, the one thing I will say, though, is that it also depends on the tournament, right? Like, I will say East Coast tournaments are definitely way more hype. Final round, Big E tournaments, the hype there is usually pretty palpable, right? It's not Smash levels, but it's definitely more hype there.
I think for the difference between fighting games and Smash right now is that Smash still has the original scene. Mm-hmm. The people who were playing Smash when that game came out, Melee came out, they're still there.
Yeah.
So what that is you have a generation teaching the next generation what this means.
Right.
And in a lot of places, fighting games lost that.
Yeah.
A lot of places, when arcades died, people left, and they didn't come back for consoles. So the way you learn, the way you should act at tournament, is by the older people that are there.
Yeah.
And if the older people are the ones yelling and making noise, then you're like, I can make noise too, this is awesome.
Right.
And fighting games sort of lost that.
Yeah.
To where you had a whole new generation that came in, and they're sort of like, well, what do we do? And nobody gave them anything to do.
I'm blaming Luca because he doesn't go to events anymore.
I mean, you can blame him. Because we've tried to get him to go to so many things. We're like, come on, dude. He's like, man, I'm busy. I'm like,
dude, I always tell the story. It was Luca and you and Sanchez who changed the outcome of a Soul Calibur tournament at NorCal Regionals. You remember that, right?
That
was funny.
That was a good time.
Because we totally harassed.
Just yell them into oblivion.
Pretty much. But I mean. So speaking of, like you were mentioning, how like the old players are still there, right, and everything. But there's something else I wanted to touch on that I feel like kind of matters a lot, is that those 5 gods that make such a compelling storyline, they're at every event. Like outside of like PPMD, who just is having health issues, so he's not traveling. But Mewtwo, King, Mango, Armada comes from Sweden like all the time, like constantly. They're at all the events. So that story always gets to keep going. Like this past weekend, we had Stunfest. Got a lot of hype players there. We had Toryuken, right? Justin's at Toryuken. All these Asian players are over there in Stunfest. And then some of the SoCal guys, they went to like Tijuana instead. You know what I mean? Like they didn't even play they didn't even go to any of the other events. So we're not getting that cohesiveness. I feel like that's kind of missing from us.
I think there's some truth to that. I think that Smash does have a much more centralized scene where everybody agrees to go to one event, whereas the fighting game scene has always sort of been sparse all across the country.
You also have to remember, when it comes to Smash, the thing is about it is that since that game, there's no league.
Definitely not.
There's no updates coming out down
it's
there.
just the community.
It's just the community.
Yeah.
You can legit make a call and be like, hey, what are you guys going to do this weekend? Oh, we're going to this tournament. Who's going to be there? Blah, 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 blah. Looks like we're all going to that tournament. And that's part of, I feel like that's just part of the age of the game. Like, remember, when when that game came out, there was no online play.
Yeah. Melee is accustomed to traveling.
Exactly.
Yeah, their players are accustomed to traveling because there's no other way to play the game, right? You can't.
Well, I mean, there is online play sort of now if you
Right,
go through the back alleys of the internet, but I don't know how good it is.
Right.
So.
I just feel like that plays a major part.
Yeah.
It's not just the fact that those things are missing. It's just the fact that that game is outliving itself. Like,
Yeah.
that game, we're what, 2-3 games out, and people are still playing that game.
I mean, just imagine.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, some people in the chat have mentioned that Melee almost died like a couple of times.
No,
right?
that's
It
true.
happened, yeah,
That's true.
But the fact that it's back and, like, again, that's part of the story.
Yeah.
That's all part of the story. And so when they got back into EVO, when they did the documentary, which created more storylines, now it's just like story, and everyone's going crazy
Think about it this way. If ST had never kind of fallen off and stuck around and had anywhere near the player base of Street Fighter V, that game would be crazy today.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think it would survive? I don't think it would have survived, though.
But see, that's the thing, is that it didn't. ST
Right.
died a couple
But
times
let's
at least.
just, like, let's say if it
Okay,
did,
theoretically.
and then let's say we have, like, instead of Leffen being the young punk, let's say Filipino champs coming in is like, I'm gonna beat Mike Watson, I'm gonna beat Alex Vi and
Yeah,
Super Turbo.
when you have that, like you said earlier, that when you have that storyline, people are connected to people. It's like, because, you know, you still hear people talk about, even in fighting games now, you know, even though a lot of these guys are gone, like, there's still, you still hear about, you know, this was, like, you go down to Texas, there's Shen Cheng.
Yeah.
And, like, the stories about him and all the guys down there. And,
Right.
you know, people don't know a lot of that now.
Yeah.
With fighting games, because time has passed and a lot of those players have just disappeared. Whereas, like we're talking about, Smash, a lot of there are people who are gone in Smash, no doubt.
Yeah.
But there is still, and they still sometimes come back, just even to be like, hey, you
Just
know,
for a
yeah,
shot.
just for a shot. And I think that's part of it. I think it really does. That connection from the present to the past really makes that scene that much
And
stronger.
I will say one thing though. I mean, seriously, shout outs to one of the gods, Mr. Mewtwo King. Because I still...
That dude has been around.
Dude,
He's
when we
probably
were
as old as
doing-
my granddad now. Like,
when
I
we
don't
were
know.
doing Evo East and Evo West, and like I helped with like the Evo DVDs and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like I still remember putting his name on the Evo DVD. On my YouTube channel, youtube.com/jchensor. There's nothing on there. Trust me.
There's actually a lot.
Yeah, I actually have old Melee footage with Mewtwo King there. He's been playing this game forever, and he's never stopped. But that's so cool. So he's like the true OG god in there, you know, and he's... Dude, he just beat Zero in Smash Wii U
That's true.
this past weekend, right? And, dude, it's just... The stories are just so good, and I
That you
feel like
can't-
that's
you
where the
really
hype
can't.
comes
Yeah.
from. And I did see someone mention this in chat, and so I'm curious what you guys think about this. So some people say, like, one of the problems also is that we're all getting bodied by these really super quiet, polite Japanese guys.
You know,
I don't think it's that.
I don't think it's that they're quiet. I do think there is something to their personalities not being known as well. Like, everybody knows Daigo now pretty well. Everybody knows Takedo pretty well. Because Takedo's really emotive. He doesn't have to say a lot. It's just what he shows on his face.
And
when
he
plays.
understands the
showmanship.
The showmanship, right? Exactly,
And Daigo does
exactly.
too. But a lot of really great players still don't. Or they don't show it, or they don't care to show it. You know, it's all personal preference.
Right.
But I do think that takes something away. When you, basically, it's like, you're only rooting for somebody because they do well. I mean... People didn't just like Michael Jordan because he was great. They enjoyed the attitude.
Yeah.
Being like Mike meant just not just being a great basketball player. It just meant, you know, the tongue out as he's doing the dunk.
Yeah,
you know?
the shot over poor Craig
So,
Milo.
wait,
Yeah, the confidence.
Yeah.
So you guys don't think that's present now?
It's there, but obviously the Japan culture has... I mean, like I said, Tokido understood it right away. There's something about Tokido he just knew right away. Even back in... Evo 2002 at UCLA when he won CBS2.
That's because he's cocky.
Yeah, he did a pose on stage. That was the original Tokido pose that he stole from the Biken player.
I'm just saying, when he said about Bonchan at Red Bull Kumite last year, I legit had to call people. Like it blew my mind.
Do you remember what he said?
I can't remember. I remember he said
he was
something
like,
though.
He's like, what do you think is gonna happen when you play Bonchan? He's like, I body him, and I was like.
And he basically said Bonchan's always getting second place.
Yeah,
you know,
I remember that now you mentioned it.
So I think it's one of those things. Like I feel like it's definitely there.
It's just there isn't as much of it. I think that one of the reasons that Marvel has always been so high in the United States is because Marvel has never lacked for outspoken players.
Yes.
People who are more than willing to talk the biggest mess
Yeah.
to one another in public, and just
I appreciate the restraint, by the way. You can say talking shit. It's okay.
Okay. That's just, but they're willing to.
He like bit his lip like talking smack.
Mess. Yeah.
But they're willing to publicly put their pride out on the line for it, and that is something not a lot of players are willing to do these days.
Yeah.
They don't want to be the person who actually has to talk and then back it up. But nobody wants to do that.
Right. Except Filipino champ.
I was about to
Except
say,
Filipino champ.
Champ will legit be like, yo, fuck you, I'll see you at the next tournament. And I'm like, all right, Champ, that's what's up. And then on top of that, he justifies it. Like, I talked to him, right? And this was like late last year, and he was like, I have to be that guy, because none of these other guys are going to do it. And I was just like, I respect it.
Dude, K-Brad's the same way.
Oh, yeah.
K-Brad likes to talk so much shit, and it's hilarious. You know, he understands it as well. It's the personality aspect of it, you know, that's so important.
And I know some people never like to hear this comparison, but it is like pro wrestling.
It is.
Yeah.
The people who really draw are the people who are the most charismatic, because when you put more of your personality out there, it's easier for fans to identify with you.
I always make the comparison to poker. Was very similar. Poker got popular when they started showing off the personalities a little more, and even though guys like Phil Hellmuth are jerks, like they're just despicable, but it gives you someone to root against.
Well, or it gives some people like, I like that guy. He's a jerk. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
And you know, when people in poker started getting nicknames and stuff like that, and again, it was another thing you could attach yourself to.
Right. And it's funny too, because like, speaking of people that people hate, you know, like as much as most, like obviously there's a bad side to Mr. Dark Prince from the back in the days, but when he tried to come in and take over Marvel 2 and beat all the players, and like he challenged Clockwork, and I will never forget that event. I wasn't even there. I just watched the video of that event, of the Dark Prince Clockwork money match. And it was just the most epic hype thing ever. Like, I will never forget Clockwork's bomb point. Like, there was one part of the match where he called Strider's bomb, and then Dark Prince did Air Hyper Viper Beam, and everyone there was like, oh, that's it for Clockwork. He's going to get Air Hyper Viper Beam. And Clockwork just let go of the controller and just pointed at the screen, and the bomb hit Cable. As he was getting hit by the Air Hyper Viper Beam, the bomb hit Cable, and then he was like, I'm fine. And the crowd went nuts.
And for two guys who were literally just standing in front of an arcade machine, that was some of the most intensity you've seen in a match, because those guys are shaking the heck out of the machine. They're just going, and it's just, and you're like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And easily, Smash definitely is one of those. Like,
no, it is.
Oh,
it definitely does that. Like, you see how much. Like, I've sat next to these guys. Like I know the intensity that they're just like. You can't even talk to some of these guys. You get the happy-go-lucky guy, but you get the one. You get the PR Rock who's like, I'm gonna kill everybody on this stage, and I'm like, yo, he just might. He just might. You know.
That's him on stage. In the audience, he's.
Yeah, exactly. He's like super cheesed out, like, you know. Right.
That's PR Rog in the audience.
But that even plays more up into it.
Yeah.
Because you see him playing, and to see him just not having to worry about it is completely different.
Yeah. And I think Smash also does have an added benefit of being a Nintendo game. A lot more people played Smash just for fun. So it's like, even if
I was gonna say that too.
Even as people who never played it competitively, like, I can say, watching Smash, I'm not totally lost. When we get to the really high execution stuff, I have to turn and be like, yo, what just happened? I really don't know. Because people are like, oh, and I'm like, I really don't know.
But that's even more so part of it, though.
Yeah,
like,
because if it fosters a community, you're starting to have to talk to other people about it and learn about the game.
And look, I even got hype in the very first Smash Nintendo 64 commercial, where they're skipping down the field and then they start punching each other.
I remember that. That was awesome.
They start punching. It's the first time I saw it. I was like, yo, Mario and Pikachu are beating each other up. So yeah, it definitely adds to a level there when you're actually seeing it happen in the game at a high level. So, except now.
But you have to get out to these events, though. Like,
that's true.
The thing is like the events have to be there, and it has to be one of those things. That's why I feel like everybody has to go to an event just like Smash Brothers. You can't just say that it's going to happen.
No, it's true.
One of the interesting things is, like I mentioned, that we have all these different events and people are spreading around. I feel like at some point in time it'll probably streamline its way down a little bit. Hopefully it'll get to the point where a lot of the same people are going to the same events.
I would hope so.
That's kind of why I've always been also pro sponsors and all.
That's what I was about
like
to say.
right?
That's why all this makes a difference, because it all kind of steamrolls into the one thing that we feel like should be happening anyway.
Mm-hmm.
We want all the best players at each event like it is in Smash. We want that hype. We want that intensity. So that has to come with knowing the backstory and knowing your roots and knowing where it comes from. It's one thing altogether.
So there you go.
Anyways, that was quite the rant.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, storylines. In my opinion, is the most important thing for generating a lot of hype. So, and seeing all the good players at all the same events a lot of the times.
I'm more interested in
that
matches.
builds
Now I feel like now it's different. It is a little different because you get to see these matches a lot, but not all the time. So you have to pay attention.
I think it's. I see what you're saying, but I think it's a little different, if only because you've been plugged into the scene for so long.
Right.
You already know the history. For new people coming in, you need that guy on commentary who's going to basically like, come sit next to me as I weave a tale.
Okay.
Right. So like, if a match comes on screen and it's Tasty Steve versus Oso, and you don't talk about it properly, like there's no story.
But nobody knows why it's important.
Right.
Well,
but then when you go watch that Oso video,
have you seen this
and
video?
he's doing
So
the dance,
I didn't watch the video. I haven't watched it yet.
So this kid, this young whippersnapper, right? He thinks he's cool. He thinks he's hot shit because he played me in final round. Now we all talked about the final round thing.
Mm-hmm.
We know how that works. Now, same thing happened, and he beat me. It was 2-1 his way.
Mm-hmm.
We played again at Texas Showdown. Now, I wasn't even supposed to play at Texas
So
Showdown.
I really, really wish
Excuses.
I really
wasn't
wish that this
supposed
was super. Like, I need to change the way I do the lower third because I need to change it to @excuses now instead of @Tasty Steve.
Well, anyways,
Salty
so
Steve.
if I can get to a tournament and just sit there and play, I'll be more than happy to do that. But I can't. I mean, I'm there working now. I can't always go beat up on these kids or practice these games. You know what I'm saying? But if the time does come where you want to make a friendly wager,
Gambling, you're gonna get kicked out.
it's not a Capcom game. So I'd be more than down to do that, because then I'd have a reason to play the game a lot more seriously than just 15, 20 minutes.
One thing I will say, so someone actually said a really important sentence in the chat was basically the stories will write themselves, like the stories will come. That is also something very, very crucial. We can't fake stories. We can't.
No,
make
definitely
them up.
not.
They have to come naturally. Like if we're just sitting there like, yo, these two guys hate each other.
Yeah,
and like they're
like,
totally good friends.
Okay,
Like, you know, it's like,
and that's another
Oh,
thing.
the classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we've seen this play out before, and I don't want to put anybody on blast, but the fact of the matter is, if it's not real, then it's not real.
Right. Exactly.
And that'll come out eventually.
And that'll come out eventually. I've actually witnessed that a couple of times.
Dude, when's my Johnny versus your Leo?
Who was that?
Leo.
Who was that?
Someone's asking when we're gonna play each other with some Leo versus
Oh, I'll
Johnny.
be down.
here.
I'll be down. I fought Fool's Johnny as well, and he's legit.
Dude, you're gonna be so free because my Johnny is so. Dude, I haven't played anybody.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm guaranteeing you
Yeah,
practice for like 15 minutes. And
pretty much. I can do some Johnny loops.
yeah.
I think Johnny's really sick though.
Dude, Johnny's
really
so
good.
ridiculous.
He's the
in this
button.
game.
I love it.
He's so good.
Anyways.
He's so good.
But yeah, like you said, it can't be.
Can't be fabricated.
It can't be fabricated. It has to be like legit. So I wouldn't advise anybody to entertain something that's not real, because
Agreed.
you can get your feelings hurt if you do that.
Not naming names, apparently.
Not naming names. Not naming names.
All right. Well, is there any last thoughts you have on the topic, or you think we're good?
I just feel like, I mean, of course, on our respective shows, we'll be able to get back to, what's going to happen, how this all plays out.
Yeah.
But as of right now, it's kind of, we have to let it lie where it is, because we don't know what's going to change.
Right.
So,
Definitely.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, let's go over the results from this weekend. Let's talk about Stunfest and Toryukin and I'll see if I can find the results of this Tijuana tournament.
Oh yeah, I want to see how that played out myself. I didn't hear anything about it.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about it, so we'll be right back, guys. God, it's hot in here.
See, that's why I wore the T-shirt today.
Yeah, so you're smart. I'm doing this thing, but I've got